Okay, so let's define class. A constructor, and you're just allocating some memory space for base. Okay, let me do a review. So we are going to define the class definition and define all methods. Then we are going to do the object instantiation and then call all the methods, call, including the getter. Then we will do the comparison and then print the result. So constructor definition is done. We are allocating some memory space for base and height through this constructor. And then defining the setters. So whatever attribute, if you use set underscore that attribute value, that is normally the thumb rule to use the setter. So the first parameter, self, okay, that depicts the object itself. So whatever method that has the self as an parameter, that simply shows that it can access all the properties of the class. User underscore base. So whatever is passed from the user, that will be saved in this variable user base. That variable value will be assigned to the object attribute base. Do the same thing for height. So feel free to copy and paste. Set height. And the attribute value, the value you got from the user will be saved in the user height that will be passed. Okay, using this setter method, we are just assigning it to that attribute in that capsule, in that object. Whatever object is getting instantiated to that object. Okay, so we have done with the setters functionality of passing the attribute. Now we are going to do the getter functionality of getting the output. Okay, so here again, the thumb rule is use get underscore for getter and whatever the attribute. Here the attribute, the variable is area. And as usual, you don't need anything. All you need is that pass. That means it is the member of the class. Okay, that pass will be given by that self parameter. And we're going to create a variable. Okay, 0.5. What is the area of the triangle formula? 1/2 into base into height. So we cannot give base into base. You have to say pass. What is the pass? Self. And then base. Same thing. Self dot height. Okay. So to access any member of the class, you have to specify the object dot the property. Okay. So inside the class definition, instead of saying object, you have to say self. So which simply means whatever object is currently instantiated, that object dot the attribute. That is the meaning. Okay. And then print info. Okay. The pass self is the pass for this. So pass that. And then we are going to print the result. Okay. Here we are going to formulate the result, format the result. We're going to say base is going to be, if you check the output, how it should look like, say self dot base. Okay. And then colon dot double notation, double decimal location. And that will be here. Okay, feel free to copy and paste for height and area. Self dot height. And then area, self dot area. Okay, so this is for printer method. So we have defined all the method inside our class. So the class definition part is done. So next we have to do the object instantiation, right? So how can you do the object instantiation? T1 dot, sorry, T1 equal to the class triangle. Okay, and do the object instantiation for the second object, which we are going to name T2. So the object instantiation is done. Remember, if you don't have the algorithm as a separate cell, you have to have the commands. That commands will help you to reevaluate when you do it for your exam or homework. Have all those commands. When you review it, it will be helpful. User base, we are going to set the variable where we are going to prompt the user to get the input. Okay, to give the input. So we are saying enter the base for triangle 1. And then do the same thing, user height. Enter the height for triangle 1. Now we are going to pass these values using the setter. So this is for first triangle. So we have to use the object of T1 as the first object. Okay. Then set base, user base. You have ample amount of time with each problem. So if you have half completed code, since I'm going slow, you should be able to catch up very easily. Then user height. Okay, so here we are passing the setters. So I strongly recommend, even if I miss it, I'm just saying it. So even if I give the commands, you have to give the commands. I have this separate. So this is how I document it, algorithm separately. Okay, so you have to have the commands, setters for object 1 like that. Then do the same thing for the second triangle. So copy and paste the code and do the same thing for the triangle number 2. Okay. So set the base for triangle 2, set the height for triangle 2, and instantiate call the object. That is here it is T2, object dot setters. Okay. Setters for object 2. Okay. Now we are done with the setters part. So now we are moving on to the third part of the algorithm, where we are going to do the comparison, okay, and then print the larger area. So you can say, anyway, if you look at the code, we want it to be like this, right? So the output should look like this. The triangle with larger area, that should be displayed first. After that only we are going to display the values, right? So to display it, here we have to print it, because next we are going to process it and directly print the properties, right? So before that, say triangle with larger area. Okay, next, if T1 dot, what we have to call, object dot method. Here it is getter method. What is the getter method? Get area, which we have already defined. So we are saying if the area of the first triangle is bigger, print what? Print the info that is associated with the object 1. So can you say that? T1 dot print info. Do you agree? When you say T1 dot print info, which object was alive by that time for that object instantiation? Whatever is passed for the prompt triangle 1, and that will be allowed, right? So those values will be activated and those values will be printed. Okay. Else, If that is not the case, when you say T2 dot, what will happen? The variables, what you passed for T2, that will occupy the capsule by that time. That is the current resident in that class, right? So that residence value will be retrieved. Agree with this? Yeah. Okay. Now we have everything done. Let's run the code. Where is the error? In line number 32. Okay, here I had to have the colon, right? What I missed? Colon. Okay, enter the base for triangle 1. Say 10 and height is 20. And the triangle 2, 30 and the height is 40. Okay, so it says some error. T1 dot get area. Oh, okay, here is the mistake. I didn't say T2. I said T1. Okay, now 10, 20, 30, and then 40. Again, another mistake. It is not supported. If T1 get area is greater than T2 get area. So since we didn't return that area, it throws some error. Now it should be good. Triangle 10, 20, 30 is the base for next triangle. What is the height? Still we have some error. Okay, what is that error? Object has no attribute. Okay, so why doesn't have any attribute? Self-written area is the mistake. So here, when you print it, since we call the method directly here, we are not saving it to some variable and then pass it. If you do that, then it is good. But here we are not passing it, saving it to some variable. We're just creating the variable for base and height. So that could be the thing. So we have to say object dot method, that get area method. Okay. So let's run it again. 10, 20, 30, 40. Oh my goodness. Still it doesn't get it. Let's see. Yeah, instead of, yeah, I don't know. Why did I do that? Self dot base, self dot height. I simply copied and pasted. So that's why. So two mistakes. Self dot object dot property name. And also I missed to change the height. Self dot height, user height. Does it make sense? Now, hopefully, it should have values 10, 20, 30, 40. A, we got it. Okay. So this is how you have to decode the problem. Problem number 5. Write a class to print GMT and PST. Greenwich Mean Time, Pacific Time. Okay. Time zones, the output should look like below. And you have to print the Greenwich Mean Time, Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And this is for 10, 15, and 12:45. The input should be 10:15. You have to give the Greenwich Mean Time with 10:15 and 12:45. And your code should calculate the Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And then print out the result. Did you get the problem? I'll run it so that you will have a little bit more clarity. Okay. So when I run this, it should standard output. You're not prompting the user to give the output. Okay. Standard output of 10:15 Greenwich Mean Time. You have to calculate the relative Pacific Standard Time. And 12:45, you have to calculate the Pacific Standard Time and print the output. You got some idea? Shall we write the algorithm for this? Yeah. Let's solve this. Problem 5. Okay. So for the Greenwich Mean Time conversion thing, we are going to create class. And since we are going to deal with time difference between the GMT and PST, we are going to create an attribute, okay, to hold that value of time difference. So initially that value of attribute is going to be 0. And we are going to change it when we calculate the time difference for Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so initially we are setting this attribute value to 0. This attribute belongs to the class time. And next, we are going to specify the methods. So first method is a constructor in it. And then always for all the properties, the methods of the class, you have to have this one parameter to handle the object, which depicts the current object, whatever object is instantiated. Self dot to deal with the hours. And this is also, we are setting it as 0 later on. The purpose of this constructor here is to just allocate some memory space to handle this variable. Okay, then we are setting the minutes as 0. Okay, next we are going to define a method, print time self. Hours. Okay, hours is the only difference, right? So we can say hours dot hours plus offset time difference. Okay, plus time difference. So the time difference is the attribute. Still, it is the class. So you cannot simply say time difference. You have to say self dot time difference. Okay, and then you're going to say print formatting to the format which we want. If you see how we want to print it, we want to have time and then dash dash. So we want it to be formatted like this, time dash dash. And then inside that, wherever you need to put the variables, that you have to put it inside the curly brace. Makes sense, right? So what you have to print? Hours. Since we have the hours as a variable here, we don't need to access self because we are just accessing it inside the class itself. So you don't need to say self.hours because we have it as a variable here. But minutes, we don't have a separate variable, say minutes here. So for accessing minutes, anyway, you have to use that object self.minutes. So we have done the formatting. So class definition is done. Next, we are going to do the object instantiation. T1, the class time. And the input is given already. We are going to do the calculation for hours 10, 15, and 12:45. So the hours for the first object is 10, and the minutes for the first object is going to be 15. Okay, does it make sense? Next, T2, object instantiation. T2 dot hours equal to 12 and T2 dot minutes equal to 45. Okay, now we are going to print the Greenwich Mean Time. So you can see how we want the output. It should say Greenwich Mean Time. This is exactly how we want to print it. So let's say, I'm just copying it. You can just type it. Greenwich Mean Time. T1 dot print. What is the print time? Okay, whatever you have given the method name, follow that. T2 dot print time. That will call that method. Okay. And now we have everything. So if you run it, it will just give you this. Okay. So, but what is the next step? You have to calculate the Pacific Standard Time. Okay. For that, you have only differences. Time difference is different. Okay. So you cannot, since this time difference is the member of the class, the attribute of the class, you cannot access it directly. And in the meantime, this is not related to object. This is standard for both the objects. Okay, since it is standard for both the objects, you're saying time dot time difference instead of object dot. And that is -8. And now with this, only the value is different, but we have everything in our class to complete the task. Okay, so just copy and paste whatever you have done for Greenwich Mean Time. Just change Pacific Standard Time, PST, and that is also same, right? For both objects, we are going to do it. Okay, now you can see the GMT and PST time has been displayed. Okay, so this is for problem number 5. So next we are going to start discussing about problem number 6. I will let you to think about it. Then we can complete it. We'll discuss the algorithm first, then we'll complete it later. Okay. So next problem is converting it to PST to EST. Oh, no. Is it PST to EST? Okay. So second is going to be the PST to EST. No, PST, EST, but yeah, PST to EST time location. Can you tell me the same thing? What is the PST to EST time difference? Do the Google search. +3, right? Yeah. So you can simply copy and paste the code and do this time difference. Try to do it. You have to complete it before you come to the class on Tuesday. Okay. Do the same problem here for instead of GMT to PST, you have to do PST to EST conversion, but the time difference is 3. Okay, +3. Okay, let's complete it. I'm not going to discuss the algorithm because it is going to be same. The algorithm is going to be same. Okay, so you have to define the class and then define the constructor to get the hours and minutes and print method to print the output, instantiate the object with the given time and print method. Okay, convert time difference and conversion and then print both timings. Okay, you're going to use the same 10:15 and 12:45 as the input. Okay, it's almost same. So complete it, then we'll discuss the result. So DMT to EST conversion, it's very easy, right? Just copy the whole code. Okay, here it is PST to EST conversion. Time difference, everything is same. Okay. Pacific Standard Time, this is going to be the Eastern Standard Time. What is the time difference? +3, right? 3. Simple. The logic is same. I don't need to explain the logic. Logic is same. Okay, so constructor, time difference, init, and print method, and values are passed. Okay, and then initially it is going to be 0, and then printing out, and the time difference is +3. Okay, so problem number 5 is done. So next class, we are going to solve the remaining 2 problems.